Hate this aging thing. Yeah, it's creeping up on.
And see the top of your head.
And then he goes down.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi.
Later,
Just testing.
We should anoint her.
Huh?
We should anoint her virtual tester of sound.
it would be useful if somebody close there can take note who is on the Zoom, because I may not be able to catch everybody.
Someone could check the attendance list and just put a check mark next to that person.
And he's talking
No,
about-
we're talking about Zoom, they get it, right, add it to the attendance. Okay, I get you.
Back was the same way, see it. No, it's it's a damn drive.
You know if Dave is coming?
No, he's
Away, I know, but he's not going to be on Zoom.
It's okay.
just the 8 of us.
So we are missing Dave and Bill. I didn't see, I got it.
Yeah, so we have
Yeah,
a
okay.
quorum.
On your behalf, I inquired of my.
Oh, yeah. And then they do it differently.
Sign in. While you sign in, Wayne, sign in, please.
Mentioned yesterday, I had last name, college classmate, nurse. She ended in research in many years. I had no relation.
Right now, it's going to get warmer when the heat goes on. I know.
Now, sign him.
Trying.
One is- Just- Okay, good morning. Welcome to the November 21st Residents Council Associated meeting. It is now 10 o'clock. We have a quorum, so we begin. First, a couple announcements. I'm going to adjust the agenda a little bit as we go through. There's some information I'd like to share with the community prior to getting into our discussion on the guidelines for the invited speakers committee. But in the first, I would like to say, while it's raining outside, we do have our bright sunshine with us back. Ina is now back. You have been long missed. I think to the person, we appreciate what you've done with the minutes. And thank you.
don't know what it is to be a recording secretary.
And I would appreciate it even more after this morning.
Yeah,
The
but
minutes became
because-
seconds.
Huh?
Okay, the other. So anyway, welcome. This is an opportunity now for ears, first session. If you would like to speak to the council, if not, we will have a session at the end, so. Okay, seeing no one. All right, let's get into the council session. As you know, my rule, it's for a council session. If you have inputs that you like, either write them down or remember them and bring them out in years, but let the council perform their services and discussions, okay? All right, I need an approval of the minutes of 11/7. Okay, Alice, second by June. All in favor? Aye, 8-0, thank you. One point about the minutes. I was asked by Lindsay. Apparently, one of the things that has slipped through the cracks is we're supposed to be giving her the approved minutes and she puts them into the
I
website.
can send them all to her.
Okay, would you?
Question about that.
Yes.
Do we give them to her electronically or do we give them to her as a hard copy?
I give them to her electronically.
Absolutely, because that's so much easier for a type. So,
Well, yeah, or copy, no, and she puts it on the website.
the hard copy, you know.
No, on the
No,
website.
the electronic copy on the website goes into the web
Coordinates,
page.
so I send those, to- well,
Okay,
I have
maybe.
been, I haven't in a
Yeah,
months, but.
that may have changed, but right now, if you would confirm with Lindsay that she needs those and who does what with them, I'd appreciate it.
Also, the stuff that's in the binder now that's for 24 and 23. When we finish in December, all that 23 stuff goes into the archives,
Correct,
okay? Just so you're
Yes.
aware with that also.
yes,
Okay, good,
there are policies in place.
good.
Okay. Okay, second item. Oops. Second item is correspondence, none received. Okay, first item on the business is the council's new email address. I was gonna get here, I did get here early, but I got busy doing stuff. It will be announced in Chanticleer tomorrow, but the council now has its own email address, which is WPRC100@gmail.com. Okay, this will be announced tomorrow, but it's been, let's say, tried by a few of the council members, new and old. Purpose of it is to give you access to us instead of trying to write a note, put it in the cubby, or coming to ears, you can now use the electronic form. Our intention is that you will get a reply within a day or two that we have received it. And then it will be reviewed by the council in session at the next meeting.
But the copy is still available.
Oh,
for
yes,
those who don't
nothing.
have.
Right, nothing's changed, but if you wanna communicate to the council, not to myself or to Yakov, to Ina. If you wanna say something to the council, please use this new address. WPRC, Woodland Pond Residence Council 100@gmail.com. All right? Okay, thank you. All right, let's go through council committee briefings. Yakov, and. August.
You mentioned this.
Dave.
I would like everybody that is giving a report to send it to me electronically, so I don't have to take notes as you speak.
I sent that reminder out yesterday.
Okay.
The benefit fund. The fund balance is $182,904.09. The J. Unger and Molly Mason program in the pack this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. is completely filled. There are no seats left. The program will be on Woodland Pond TV and will be aired here in the classroom on the TV. If you did not sign up before now, there is no room in the pack. And there's gonna be people there that are gonna be monitoring that, because we have, I don't know how many, over 100 people have signed up, actually came down and signed up. So you've gotta be aware of the fact, we gotta take care of them. Yes,
Could it be recorded also, please? Could you try and arrange that?
I will look into it, but I assume it's going to be recorded, but I will look into it.
Assume nothing.
Absolutely right, I will look into it. The Woodland Pond Arts and Crafts Fair is almost ready to go. It's on Saturday, December 7th at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. What's not holding it up, but Martin is in the process of finishing his advertising is finished. His advertising piece is finished, get them finished. The committee is looking into new memorial opportunities, considering a permanent wall to display the donors' names. In other words, it will go up and it will be there forever. And we figured it was a good place to start, since they're gonna be revamping so much stuff in this area. If we came in now and asked for it, maybe we would get it and it doesn't have to be something that keeps on changing all the time. And also, most of us agree that even if 10 years ago, if somebody made a donation, their name should still be there, because that's the way it is every place else that we've checked. So we're gonna try and do that. The next meeting of the Woodland Pond Benefit Fund will be on Wednesday, December 17th, 10 p.m. in the conference room. Right, what did I say? 10. Oh, I'm sorry, it's at 10 a.m., yes. Nothing happens at p.m. for me anyway. The resident council, the health center. Questions on the benefit fund, excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
I just would like to make an announcement that thank you. Would like to make an announcement that Pet Ponders has sponsored a bench on the Branch Trail. And I will be sending out notices if anybody would like to contribute to that. It would be really welcome, because then even more money will go. And part of the inscription is in gratitude to all our past, present, and future pets. So anybody who's had a pet and you want to contribute.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? The health committee, the health center committee will meet on this coming Tuesday, December 26th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon in the classroom. Okay? Thank you.
The design and decor meeting took place on November 7th at 1 o'clock, and the minutes were accepted. As the initial part of the meeting, there was a brief discussion on what was going to be done with all the existing art as renovations take place. And discussions are taking place between the Design and Decor Committee and Michelle. And there's going to be a focus group that will, to be determined to make sure that all goes smoothly. This is a problem. As walls change, art has to be taken and stored, and then considerations have to be taken as to what will it look like after the renovation takes place and which art takes place. So this is just something that's a starting conversation, because there's a long time lag before we get into any reservations. Okay,
There's also a new liability form, and that was discussed, mainly having to do with getting new residents on board. So there will be a new resident orientation, and also it is expected that at each floor of the 3 wings, there will be a monitor, and that monitor, who it is will be displayed in the refuse alcove, so that if there is any resident who has a problem with existing art or wants to get on board with maybe a presentation of new art, there will be somebody they can make contact with. The other aspect that was discussed was holiday decorations have been changed somewhat. There's a changing aesthetics regarding the holidays, and because of that, new locations have been oriented for displays. Then there was a discussion of the annual report, which has to be submitted to management of what has taken place during the committee during the course of the year. And there was a thought of changing the name of the committee from Design and Decor to the Art and Decor Committee. That's being explored. Basically, design and decor isn't not entirely accurate what takes place in the committee, and they're thinking of a different name. Also, one of the committee members, Margaret Nijwi, I don't think she's here now. Nyhouse, okay, I never get that right. She is taken upon the task of making sure that all the labeling that you see on the artwork is correct. And if labels have to be changed, she will be doing that as far as the title of the artwork, who contributed and so on. Okay, that's it.
Question?
Yeah.
Microphone?
Cannot be 3 things at a time, sorry. With regards to the art, to storing the art, I mean, your first statement that you have to decide what to do with so much art that, you know, it's stored right now and the one that it's going to be moved during the construction. Can you give us an idea of the volume of, is it a single room full of things, or is it?
I haven't the slightest idea really, and I don't think the committee does, because we don't have the construction plans. Clearly, as walls.
Not my question. What do we have to store? What do we have? How much material is there that needs to find a place?
Well, we don't know until we see what the construction looks like. If a wall is coming down, we gotta take all the artwork off the wall and has to be stored. I'm not sure I'm getting what you mean.
The things that are not yet on the walls. There is artwork that is stored right now, or nothing is stored.
No, as far as I know, there's still artwork being stored. Want to pick up on that?
Yeah, it's stored in, we have a whole room full of,
One room,
one, yeah.
about the size of this,
No, it's
a closet.
And it's not a closet, it's the room where the worker cleaner people used to store their equipment.
So it's 5 by 10.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that.
Okay, just to get an idea, you know, an order of
A lot of
magnitude.
room in it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Landscape?
Yes.
Mark and the committee discussed the proposed committee revised mission statement. The motion to accept the new mission statement passed. Here is the new landscape committee mission statement. The landscape committee, in collaboration with the Woodland Pond horticulturist, seeks to promote a naturalistic rather than a formal approach to our grounds that provides tranquility, beauty, and color for its residents, pets, guests, and staff members. The committee meets monthly with the Woodland Pond head gardener to listen to his reports and discuss priorities and projects. The committee advocates for a sustainable, environmentally responsible campus that facilitates the marketing of Woodland Pond. The committee can make recommendations to residents who wish to plant memorial trees. These may include viable species and locations. Similarly, it can make recommendations to residents who want advice on their garden plants. The committee brings its concerns and ideas to the management of Woodland Pond as well as to the Residents Council. The next meeting of the Landscape Committee will be in March.
In your mission statement, what was the first aim? Was it utility? Did I hear that correctly? In the mission statement, beauty was one. Tranquility. Tranquility.
Seek to grow a naturalistic rather than a formal approach to our grounds that provides tranquility, beauty, and color for its residents, pets, guests, and staff members.
The reason I asked the question is because I've been reading recently about the fact that in many places, lawns are being turned into vegetable gardens where actual products are raised. And it occurred to me that perhaps it's a moment for Woodland Pond to consider something similar, and we could grow our own vegetables and use them in our kitchen. Just a thought.
You can come in March to the next meeting and bring that up.
I will.
Mental Health and Wellness Committee, the November 8th meeting. I was not able to attend this meeting. Wayne Lavender graciously took these notes. The committee welcomed the Health Center's new Director of Social Work Services, Amber Goldman. The committee members introduced themselves by sharing their personal professional histories as well as the history of the committee task force over the past few years. She was welcomed to future meetings and programs. Amber shared her role and responsibilities, patient care plans, offering psychological support, coordinating with families and residents, and providing referrals to community providers. Amber informed us the health center's new connection with the CHE agency, whose psychologist is Dr. Allison Havel.
Question? Jakob?
Is there any consideration about any of those tasks overlapping with things that Sarah Leonard handled?
No.
Okay. Everybody else okay? Fine. There is no financial review, the committee has already met. Land conservation,
I have a report from, Dave asked me to do it.
oh, all right, thank you.
Okay, we
Would
met.
you use the microphone?
We met on Friday the 15th, and there was a discussion about the biennial walk down to the platform. Because of increased use now and the big presentation and opening of the new trail, the renovated trail, and the fact that Matt is now taking people down there on his walk on Fridays, we decided to put those biennial guided tours on hold, and if a special occasion arises, we'll take people down there. There was some sort of having a Midsummer's Eve wine and cheese down on the platform or something like that to celebrate the platform. We'll continue with the bi-monthly presentations. We had a successful one on November the 19th, this the other day. A day in the life of a ranger. It was well attended and much enjoyed. The only other thing was word had got out about the invited speakers committee, and several of the people said that they did not see that there was a necessity for the land conservation speakers to go through that whole process. they felt that these were non-controversial subjects. So that's land conservation.
Any questions? Okay. Rove, I will report what Dave reported to the board. That'd be okay. Basically, the Rove Committee's final number is about $270,000 were raised. This is an increase of about 13% over 2024 or 23. We don't know the distribution amount yet as they go through the employees' numbers. But it was an increase totally in independent living from 76 to 82% participation, and a significant gain in the health center using the opt-out process. And from my understanding that Rove is going to be reviewing their invitation letter and make some corrections to improve hopefully the efficiency. So that was Rove. Yes, Jakob.
What's the percentage after the increase of participants in the health center?
It went from 23 to 46.
46% of residents.
Yes.
Okay. And that includes,
Yes.
that only includes residents in the health center, not outside people that are in.
That I can't answer, but I believe that's true. Okay. The Woodland Pond Board, I drew the short straw with Dave, so I made the attendance. Tomorrow, that is quite a session to join in, but I did a Zoom with them. Basically went over the report that Dave submitted to us, and I will make this part of the minutes. But the big thing was he spent a lot of time, because there are a couple new board members that were there to explain about Rove and how we did it and when the process, and it was appreciated. The other topics that covered that they were interested in is I added in the invite for them to come to the art and craft sale, not show, sale, that we are going to have on the 6th and 7th. And there were some questions about that and it was appreciated. The other point that came out, and I want to talk about it after we're done this, but we have been asked by the board to select and present them 2 nominees for the resident director's position. I'm going to take that up as soon as we're done with the committee report, so it will carry on. Any questions about the board? By the way, the new board members, which are not on the website yet, are Karen Johnson and Tom Smiley. They hope to update that, but they've been added to the board. Okay, Yucker.
Can you give any information about the 2 new members at all?
One's a man, one's a woman.
Thank you, that really helps.
That's all I had. Yucker.
Okay.
That's all I got, was their names.
The other question is, I don't recall if, I may have missed it, I think we had an invitation for the board members to come here to meet with residents. And I don't remember if that happened and I was away or I couldn't attend, or it's still on the table to be done.
I don't know if the council formally invited them. I know there was some
It was
discussion.
ongoing from way back when, and any
Yeah.
time that they can come. I remember taking that down, probably a year ago.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, I'll ask them.
yeah, I think what, they were very hospitable, but don't talk too long, get off, because they had a lot of things to cover. But I will give you this. Okay, let's go on, welcome committee, Ellen?
The Welcome Committee met on November 12th in the game room. After the usual orders of business, newly arrived residents and their mentors were reviewed. Mentors gave reports on their current mentees, and additional information was shared by committee members. Marketing issued a report on new residents arriving in the next 3 months. Martin Levenhar distributed copies of the useful information packet, for which he was responsible for editing. He voiced thanks to all members who assisted with the task. The draft of the document was accepted. During the November 8th level of care meeting held in the PAC, Michelle noted the ongoing efforts on the part of the Welcoming Committee to address issues related to entry and placement. Our next meeting will take place on December 10. New residence orientation will take place on Friday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. in the classroom.
Question.
The draft is the package, a new draft of a package that will be given to the residents. Is that what you're talking about? And if that's the case, what's the next step? Is the draft, who needs to approve that?
It's been approved by the committee, and it was, I remember June definitely suggested that it not only go to members of the Welcome Committee, but it should go to all residents. Isn't that correct? I remember you doing that.
Maybe.
Yes, I don't know if that, yes, June definitely suggested it should be part of all residents' packets. Alice is saying no, but it's true.
Library?
Library, no meeting has been held since our last report.
Thank you. June?
Sustainability, we had our regular monthly meeting yesterday, and unfortunately, because of the timing, it was very poorly attended. It happened right after the Q&A, and I think everybody was totally exhausted by the end of that. If the topic was having sustainable holidays, and we had 6 different tables. One was ideas how to have sustainable holidays using gift certificates and coupon books. Another one was making your own stuff out of discarded items and stuff that would be considered rubbish. And then how to decorate newspaper and make it into wrapping paper. So what we did was we just put the stuff that was on the tables out in the lobby there, outside the, not the lobby, outside the hostess desk, so that people could get some of our ideas who were unable to stay awake for the next meeting. So we've cancelled the December meeting because of the holidays. Then the dining committee,
I want to
okay,
the sustainability task force on the SA, I forgot the initials, the strategic action plan, SAP. It's about to finish the annual material with the 6 task groups and what they were the goals, an update of what we achieved in 2024 and ideas for 2025. This is expected to be completed fairly soon, next couple of weeks at most, and it will be going on the website. So this is going to be published for people to see what's going on with the different committees.
Thank you.
the dining committee has not met since the last meeting, but there was an announcement that they had appointed a new executive chef who was supposed to start yesterday, and apparently he pulled out at the last minute. So that's the way it goes. So we're back to square one. We're seeking an executive chef.
Any questions? Okay, Yaakov, anything?
No meeting. Just a comment about the physical plant.
Yeah.
as you probably heard in different occasions, there is a big effort to try to empty the south storage area in the basement. So those cages probably will be dismantled and the area will be used as swing space during the construction. There is a big effort to try to get people to opt out of using their storage, the cages. It's in the agreement when people sign in that they will have storage, but that doesn't mean that everybody uses it or is not willing to give it up at least for a year or two during the construction, which also brings it to the other point, which is on Monday, maintenance or housekeeping is going to throw away anything.
December 2nd.
December 2nd,
Yes, yes.
not Monday.
Monday, December 2nd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Giving you a
I thought
couple.
it's this Monday,
No,
okay.
no,
In any case,
don't
So-
get people panicking, please.
I was panicking because the sustainability task force on reuse, we have been addressing a number of people that wanted to clear things from their storage or get rid of other things that they don't use. And which means that we will have a very short time to make sure that things don't get trashed. And so if anybody has an opportunity, pass the word around that this is coming and that we are willing and able probably to a large extent to help you prevent your things going to the trash and find a useful, owner.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna skip over topic, review of the guidelines for a minute. I'm coming back to it, don't fear. I do have a request, I need a motion to approve, and we've already issued them, but for the record, the annual report that was sent to Michelle and to Dick Berry as secretary of the board. So would somebody give me a motion? Alice, and then
Yeah,
Yakov second, all in favor? That report was sent to you. I did note to you that the sustainability portion is under construction, I guess, their report, and that's what you just told us. Their strategic plans and stuff like that. So Joy asked me to have patience, so it's open for that. But right now, that will be published and be on the website. So and I want to thank all of the committee chairs or people that helped the committee chairs provide us with their reports. They were very good, and I think it was very helpful for the board to see that. Okay, now, talking about the board, I'm going to announce now that the board yesterday asked me to provide to them 2 nominees to replace Dick Berry and Ray Smith, who have been on the board for 8.5 years. So that is by the bylaws that they requested, so I've accepted the request. I just want to let you know, there has been a calendar developed. This will be given to you, Yakov, for the minutes. Basically, I'm announcing it now. I'm gonna put an announcement that I'll read in the Chanticleer for Friday. Basically, people that are potentially interested in will submit their qualifications, resumes, anything that would give an understanding of your capability and desires to be a board director. Those are all due by December the 13th, that's a Friday. And then the following week, one of the things that I asked the board for, since this has not been done for 8.5+ years, is to have Dick and Ray join all the people that are asking to be on the board, to be a candidate, to sit with them and tell them what is it like to be in the life of a board member? What's expected of you, how many times you get bonbons and things like that. But that will happen the week of December the 16th to the 20th. And then on the, so that would be time for you to adjust your desires to do that. Then January the 6th, Wayne, well, let's have one meeting, okay?
Couldn't hear something.
Okay, well, raise your hand. Anyway, January the 6th to the 10th, the new council will be brought together under a special session so that Dick and Ray can instruct you as to, because the council will be making the interviews of the candidates and will be making the decision, the council that's in power. Okay, so they will be the ones, and basically Dick and Ray will cover the key attributes for selecting a candidate. The January 13th to the 16th, the council will interview the candidates. And then on the 17th, council in session will select the nominees and notify all candidates of the results of that. And then the 20th to the 24th, the board will interview the two that we've selected, that the board has selected and sent for it. Okay, that's,
I would just suggest that the person who wants to apply, pick up the form. We have a form for applying to be on the council. I think that form will be helpful for them to write down their qualifications.
yeah, I was gonna address that a little bit.
Okay.
Let me read what is going to be in the Chanticleer. And also in Woodland Life. The Residents' Council has been requested to provide two nominees for the Woodland Pond Board of Directors. The term is 3 years and will officially commence at the annual board meeting in June. The council is requesting any interested residents to provide their resume detailing their qualification, prior experience, and any services performed at Woodland Pond. Please drop off at the concierge or reception by December 13th, marked board. All candidates will be given an opportunity to learn about the role of the resident director from, I called him Richard Berry, he did something like that. So it's Dick Berry and Ray Smith, our current directors, and then we'll be interviewed by the council. So this is going in. Along to your point, June, one of the things that, if you are interested, please do look at the Woodland Pond at New Paltz Corporation's bylaws. Under Article 3, Section 3, A and B, there's detail of what the qualifications and what are the attributes they're looking for. So that's a good start. But obviously, you can look at the website, under our team. There is right now a current list of the directors, what their backgrounds are, what they're assigned to. Also in the bylaws, it explains the committees that you will be part of going forward. So you'll get a good review of what you might expect. But this is an opportunity now for people to, again, work with the board as resident council or resident directors. So that is the announcement that I needed to make. I will take questions from everyone. Go ahead.
I don't remember if when we discussed the appointment or the formation of a nomination committee, it included nominating for people candidates to the board of Woodland Pond. Because we are talking about a slightly different, that task is now going to be assumed by the council, not by the nominating committee
That's correct. That's the instructions I got from the board,
from the board. Okay. The second question is some of the things that you suggest that people look through, those should be published and made available. I mean, just where to look for information and so on right away, because it doesn't look like there is a lot of time for all these steps.
But the reason they're trying to do that is they would like to try by the January or February meeting to make the announcement. They would like to do is have the candidates that they select shadow Dick and Ray for the balance of their term, like our council is doing here. So that's the reason for sort of this hurry up and get it done. But again, if you're interested, it shouldn't be that difficult a job.
I'm not interested. I'm talking about putting that information
Yeah,
along with the announcement somewhere that people can look through all these specific chapters or whatever, I mean, that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
If that's not going to be the Chanticleer, which usually it's limited in space, so.
Well, I think in this particular case, I'm being given leeway
Okay.
to do it. Okay? But that's a good point. I mean, but again, if you're interested, you will discover ways to find out what is done. Is there any comments or questions from our guests? Any from, I should ask, any from the council? Okay. All right. Okay, that point is made and we'll move on. Just to sort of finish this off, and then we'll go into the discussion on the draft of the guidelines. December 5th, the welcoming committee will be chairs, Helena and Alice will be interviewed by Dave after the December 5th council meeting. And I think that's 2 p.m. and in the back. It should be very, very interesting. Okay. All right. Now, the subject or the topic of the guidelines. The last meeting, we discussed or provided numerous observations and thoughts about what this should be. The council team sent me suggestions on changes that might improve it and make it more viable and clear. Those I incorporated into the draft that is version 1120, which was yesterday, 24, sent to all of the council members and the pending council members. Try to incorporate all of your suggestions and in there. So the question I have now is what I'd like to do is go through the council. Is there your observations of this document as it stands right now? So when we start on this side with Mel.
My main problem with the committee is that it would be an obstruction in mostly time in getting speakers organized. The way things work now is relatively simple. For instance, let me bring up a committee that I normally attend, the Current Events Committee. If somebody there wanted to bring a speaker on a subject for the following week, it would just happen. The person would invite the speaker would show up, they would speak for 10 minutes, half hour, whatever, and it would get done. If we now have a situation where there is a committee, as discussed, which must vet speakers my assumption is that includes everything, which basically creates a holdup. For instance, in the current events committee, which I mentioned, if Taylor, who was here, decided she wanted to have a speaker for the following meeting, it wouldn't happen because she would have to present information to the committee. The committee then would have to discuss the speaker who was coming. The committee then would have to get back to Taylor. And this would entail basically a period of time. It would change the way we do business. And that is my main concern. Whereas things flow relatively simply now, what we are putting in place is a big obstruction that is, I evaluate as time. You want to have somebody, instead of them showing up the following week, they may show up the following month or even after that. It makes for a scheduling problem. It also throws an additional onus of people having to prepare material for the committee to review. The committee just can't sit there, they have to look at stuff. So they have to look at documentation, who's coming, how is he qualified, what is he gonna speak on, and so on. So that is my main concern. Whether or not the idea of this committee would fit. Will it be helpful or an obstruction? That's my problem.
All right, let me address, I guess, a key point. We are working on the fact that this council approved the formation of an invited speakers committee. You were part of the council's agreement to do that. So you're now suggesting that maybe this committee is obstructive, but you approved it. What I'm looking for, Mel, is what are the things about the document that exists that need to be either struck out or changed or whatever, because we've been given the obligation to come up with some sort of guideline. So the fact that you feel like it's obstructive should have been raised the time when the committee was, the council was asked to form the committee. So.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is new information that I have been thinking about and provided. Originally, I didn't have an idea that this committee would be productive or non-productive or basically in between. But in subsequent thought, since this whole thing originated till now, what I'm doing is just questioning the necessity, of which I quite frankly would like to have discussion and I'm not 100% sure of.
Okay, thank you.
My comments, also are prefaced by saying I was against it. I sent my opinion in writing last month because I couldn't be here. But reading over the documents, and in part, talking about speakers. Are you talking about speakers only from the outside, not including residents? If land conservation says our speakers are good and you don't have to have anything to do about interviewing them, does that count for interfaith and tree of faith programs? Does that count for Shalom Space programs? Does that count when we have presenters for Shalom Space who are residents, or only when we bring in somebody from the outside? There's no definition. And if you are defining, how do you tell somebody from the outside, I'm sorry, we aren't trusting you, that we have to state some information, so you're different than the people you're going to be speaking to. This in no way is described overall within the document that was presented. and that was set forth. I think this is trying to keep certain topics and certain people out of Woodland Pond. I am totally against this. And I think that it's a bad precedent.
Here.
All right, come on.
Okay, here you go. I voted no for this when it was put on the table, the motion. Reason, I am not a big fan of ramrod situations. I've worked for the federal government for 33 years, and you just don't do that kind of stuff, number one. Number two, I think the committees themselves can monitor and take care of themselves. They do not need a big brother over them to watch what's going on. So consequently, and if that's the case, I'm wrong in that I don't trust my fellow human beings and my fellow committee people here. I think that then I waited and I saw what 1105-24 did. That was a well-written document. Yes, it had a lot of legalese in it, but that's easy to get through. To me, what I think should have been done is we should have created an ad hoc committee that was gonna be for a certain period of time. They were gonna go through and set up the rules and regulations, policies and practices for how to pick a speaker. And then that was going to be the way it's done. Then that committee would be dissolved. The idea that there's gonna be a committee that's gonna do every single speaker is an absolute travesty. That's my opinion. Okay, hate me not, please.
I also voted against this because at that meeting, we had no chance to really consider it. This was such a big topic. I think the word ramrod was used, and I think that's what happened. Also, in this document, in section 2, part B, I really don't understand what that's saying.
As some of you may recall, when we had that meeting in the game room, I was the one who made the motion that we proceed, a motion that I now regret. I regret it strongly. I was under the assumption that Michelle asked us to create such a committee and that it would be an exploration. I never expected that a legal document would come down that was so tight and restrictive, in my opinion. I think it creates unnecessary complications. It doesn't provide for smooth functioning of events here. I particularly resent the fact that, let's see, the determination of the compliant officer will be final and without review or debate. I find that in conflict with the pleasant, positive goals that Michelle aspires to, civility. Even in an illegal situation in a courtroom, a judge usually gives reason. To ask why is not a crime. I think that civility would demand at least an explanation. It might not change anything, but at least it would provide for that atmosphere that Michelle is always promoting. I apologize for having made that motion. I was under a different opinion as to what I was proposing. I was proposing an explanation. I never expected that document to come and that it would be final. I see no reason why our group can't rescind a motion.
Alice, what version are you reading from?
The most recent one,
What's the date at the top?
the 11/20/24.
There is no. I don't know where you're reading in right now it says management will maintain absolute right to deny an event speaker should they determine in their role as corporate compliance officer, the need for denial. The sponsor will be advised of the determination of denial. What you're reading is not in what's.
Well, that's what printed out from my computer. That's still,
We're working through a document that started back,
I get it.
okay, so let's do that. Okay, your inputs are noted.
Would you like to see my copy?
No, I'm looking at my copy, which is,
Okay.
doesn't have yours.
Mine says 11/20/24, and I turn it over on the backside, it talks about.
But that's not, there's only one page, it ends at 5.1.2.
Mine does too, but it puts it on a second page.
Depends on the font it prints on though, and the program.
Well, the one I'm reading does not have that. That's the one that was sent out. Okay, June?
Yeah, I'm also not crazy about the committee, but I think we have to read very carefully. Part 2, lines 3 and 4. It says, proposed invited speakers that might infringe upon restrictions by New York State statutes of the IRS codes, et cetera. So I think if such a committee is formed, it should not be a committee that meets on a regular basis. It should just convene if a speaker is questioned because of restrictions to the tax deductible status. So if a committee is formed, I think it must have very limited use only when a controversial speaker is suggested.
Okay, thank you. Jakob?
I believe I submitted the motion on November 17 or something like that. September, I'm sorry. It was September 17. That's when that motion was passed.
Yeah.
And all this exercise, it's not in the spirit of that motion. That motion was specific to focus on 501c3 issues, to form a committee, not that the council will do this, but the committee will kind of convene and see if whatever we have already in place needs any changes. That was the spirit of that. I don't have it in front of me, you may want to read it in any case. This is not what was at least presented from my end. Now, I would like to make a motion basically to discard this, and I'm willing to read a proposed motion to that and to table this process completely. And if you want, I can read it now.
Read the motion?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute, I think it's only fair that the rest of the people that we've involved in it, Carl and the others have a chance,
We don't have a hand up.
the council people.
Future.
Well, I have the mic, so I guess I'll take the
Please.
bull by the horns. I'm not gonna comment. I agree largely with much of what the current council members have said. I'm not sure that I agree, with all due respect, that the motion to create a committee to consider this, which is what I understand happened a few months ago here, that in itself means that it must happen. That is to say that a policy must come out of that process. So, but leaving all that aside, let me just comment on a few relatively minor details. I'm going to use thank you very much, Tom, the nice section and line designations, which enable us to know what we're talking about. And section 1, line 6, Woodland Pond must demonstrate appropriate due diligence. I submit that the word appropriate is entirely irrelevant and duplicative. I would hope that due diligence is always appropriate. Therefore, why say so? In section 2, line 14, the last line of that section, the subject will be for general resident entertainment. I find that highly demeaning, as if what we do in providing speakers are only interested in bread and circuses. We are interested, in my case, in education and enlightenment. So I was get rid of that damn word entertainment.
Coming new to this, here's one of the things that I really am concerned about. And one is in section 2, line 3, it talks about invited guests. And my question was, what about our own residents? And I don't know, that separation, just using that wide term, really doesn't sit well with me, to be honest. After listening to everyone's comments and some of the feedback, I guess my question to everyone in this room and the council is that I understand that there are legal pressures and financial outcomes that we need to be aware of. Granted, I don't think any of us want to put the pond at risk. However, we obviously have a lot of questions, and we have this overall residents not being in this process. And my recommendation is that we do establish some type of group to look at the language and work it together as a team, and then see if we can bring it back. But I think we need some type of committee. I'm not comfortable being the person making a decision. That, the legal part is the thing that I don't know. So my recommendation is to hold it and see if we can somehow come up with a different way to address many of their concerns being voiced by residents. I know that would be a lot of work and it will be difficult, but we have to get this done and we have to get it done right.
Thank you.
I also am new to this issue and I've been trying to educate myself. And one of my questions, which I do not have an answer to, is what prompted this whole thing in the first place?
Michelle.
But what? There was an objection to a speaker, I assume. I don't know about that.
Fulbright scholar speaking on the Constitution, 14th Amendment.
And none of this has come out in any public discussion that I'm aware of.
That's just
And I think it would be helpful if we knew why this person was rejected as a speaker. And we could start from there to try to figure out the wording of what is not acceptable because of the laws that we must obey to maintain our nonprofit 501c3 status. So that's one suggestion I have. I don't like the idea of the committee at all personally, but my second thing to say is at the last meeting when Michelle was here, I heard her say, and perhaps I am mistaken, but I believe I heard her say very clearly, there has to be a committee. If you don't establish it and the guidelines, I will. I don't want to be Big Brother, I want you to do this. So, assuming that I'm correct in what she was saying, I think we're stuck with this problem. And Kathy and I agreed that it would be wonderful if you guys could resolve it before the end of the year. But I don't think that's gonna happen, so those are my thoughts.
Good, thank you all, Carl.
Thank you. Michelle did say that the whole issue never came up until this year. So to clarify a little bit, this was really a single issue. And she is emotionally very involved in it because it has to do with clashes of personalities around the decision that was made. And I don't think we should be carried away by this particular clash. I think the basic idea is you don't fix it if it ain't broken. And we've been functioning fairly well, with the exception of this one thing which really became a clash of personalities and we're going much too far. I'm thrilled with the way I read everybody's, not everybody's, the majority opinion, which clearly says we really should rescind the vote to create a committee. We are not ready to have that committee. And I hope that I understood that Yaakov, as one of the people who voted for it, is asking us to rescind that motion. We can come back and create a committee sometime in the future when we see this more clearly, but I don't think we're ready to. And if I'm understanding you correctly, by Robert's Rules of Order, motion to rescind takes precedence over everything else.
Okay, thank you all for your inputs, and I do want to. I also would like to thank the residents who have overwhelmed my server with their comments, their views, some extremely detailed, some very passionate with just this is too much, too big, so forth. If I may, just one more thing. I will read to you the motion made back in September. Motion to form an invited speakers committee with the purpose of 1, review the residence manual and other existing policies and procedures relevant to inviting speakers on topics of interest to residents. 2, propose relevant changes as needed. 3, define criteria consistent with 501c3 status and compliance. 4, define the operational criteria of the committee vis-a-vis other existing committees, interest groups, etc. 5, implement any operational tasks needed. This is what the committee council voted in at that time. That's why all of this has started. So, and I actually, after hearing everything and reading the inputs to the documents as they're being formed, came to the conclusion that this is not what we wanted to do. And I was going to ask that we either table it for this meeting or the next meeting, bring up.
Table it, didn't vote on it.
I'm sorry.
Who is this?
Betsy, please hold off, please. We're in session here. We're in session, Betsy.
I'm sorry.
Okay, what I would like is, again, that the majority of the council at this present time is not in favor of doing that. My interpretation of it is that when I'm reading what everybody's been putting in, that what we have seems to be working. There is a committee already formed that would handle things that may be construed political, the Political Affairs Committee. Why don't we look at what their role is and how to either strengthen it or do it? So at this point, I will entertain the motion from.
Before the motion, I didn't get to speak. You wanted other people to say before I entertain the motion. So if the procedure is that to rescind that motion from September, I'm willing to do that. Otherwise, I will make a motion now. Okay? Whichever way you want to do it first.
You see, again, you've got.
No.
Again, you've got us at a disadvantage. You're wanting to do something, but we have no knowledge of what you want to do. If you wanted to do that, why didn't you send it out to us beforehand?
I'm going to read it now.
But Yaakov, that doesn't give us time. That's the problem we had in September.
You know what?
Put it down there.
Let's pass it around. And somebody wants to copy this?
No, just understand, if you want to do something like this, that's why I put out the agenda on Friday. tell me what you want to do so we can get it in here and people have the time to look at it. It's unfair. I think the comment made was you thought you were voting on something that was different because that's what it was at the time. This is not the way to do it. If you have a motion that is different than just totally rescinding the motion in September,
So I move to rescind that decision from September.
you want rescind the motion to form an invited speakers committee by Yakov, seconded by
fourth, and fifth.
the numbers committee. Okay, that motion is on the floor, in discussion of that motion from the committee. You're okay with it? All right, to vote to approve the rescinding of the motion formed of forming the invited speaker committees. All in favor, say aye. All against, say nay. Okay, it is 8-0 approved. It's gone. But it doesn't change the fact that we have been requested by management, and you heard the very articulately say, you know, either we do it or they'll do it. So I know there's a lot of inputs right now. I'm gonna go. Carl? No, all right, yes.
But what we're trying to do on there.
I think it is necessary to let management, especially at the top, know with what emphasis went out from not just us, but the residents themselves, and that this was really, really a major denial on management's part. And let them know that if management wants to form a committee, I think they're gonna hear from residents about it. And it's only fair that they understand, we do not want to be nitpicked about people. If you don't like a presentation, don't come.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. This has to be told to them, and you are the person who has to carry that message. Cause if you don't, I think the residents will.
Yes.
Yep. Just.
No, I mean, if they don't understand, Michelle is gonna get a lot of visitors in her office with her open door policy.
All right, just, Yoko. Tomorrow, you're all excited back there waiting.
Yes. Of course, I think the rescinding is wonderful. However, you mentioned maybe there should be something about strengthening and reviewing the political action committee as it reviews things now. I think there's a danger there that everything that couldn't be carried out now would be sort of put into that committee. And my sense is that committee has existed and to leave it as it is. And when Michelle says, if we don't do it, they will, I think we can wait and see what happens there. Yeah.
That's Julie.
I want to basically clarify. There were two major issues that brought up, as a matter of fact, three. One of them is the issues of not endangering the 501c3 status of the institution, which everybody, as far as I know, is clear about that, is willing to do, is willing to cooperate. The other one is the question of civility and having discussions and not offending and not doing things that are not popular and blah, 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 blah. Okay, these are two separate issues. And I think on that issue, also almost everybody that spoke is in agreement. Okay, so to have the censorship committee, which by the way, in the way it was written here, it was just an appearance of a censorship because they didn't even have the ultimate authority. So when I wrote this proposal, I had three parts, two parts basically, that to continue the invited speakers request as have been done until now. This goes to the resident service director, that's Sarah Lona. It gets copied to Gretchen just for a technical issue of timing and reserving rooms and so on. And the other part is that if the service director feels that there is something that may compromise the 501c3 situation, they have the compliance officer. And the compliance officer should, first of all, discuss with the inviter and to see if there is any issues that she needs clarification. But if she attempts to deny a speaker that even a small group of residents wants to hear about, okay, she should bring it formally to the council and to reason why is she denying that. Because that is what everybody that I hear wants to see. And we don't need to form a committee to do that. I mean, the council can do that on the supposed situation that will happen. Now, for years we had interactions, we had speakers that spoke about controversial issues, discussions about people with opposite ideas, opposite opinions, and nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Right.
This was all civil. And I don't see a reason why we need to have a committee. If Michelle wants to form a committee, it's not going to be a council committee. Because the council committee, the council has to form it, approve it. And the committee should come from the basis and not for the council to appoint the chair and so on and so forth. And I mentioned that in one of my comments. So my suggestion is let's leave it like that. Oh, I'm sorry, the third issue that Michelle brought up, I believe it was at the last meeting, is that somebody put on a page, on the internet something about Woodland Pond that could, imply that Woodland Pond there was, I don't know, whatever it's. Yeah, I mean, they can say that, they can say the opposite. We are not, as a council, we are not going to address that. We shouldn't. Okay, if people want to put on their website, on Facebook, whatever, I mean, everybody's free to do that. And we are not going to, as an institution, we are not going to counteract that. That's all I have to say.
I was here for that meeting and I think it was, personally, it was a mistake. But if you're gonna punt or abdicate to administration, you might be making a mistake. If you want to delay that, form a task force subcommittee of this group that you can bring in residents to discuss this issue and come back. You're still doing it without saying, oh, we abdicate, let you do.
I don't see it as an abdication, and I want to thank everybody on the resident council who expressed their concerns about this committee and voted against it. I think it was a very important decision you all made. It was a brave decision, and I applaud it. I love Michelle, she's great, but I think she has to realize that we are not infants, we are not children, that we have all had very esteemed backgrounds. Many of us have worked as professionals, as administrators of large organizations. We've had to have speakers. We are not coming out of kindergarten into this. And I think Michelle needs to understand this, and she needs to respect our judgments. And I totally agree with Yaakov. We have had controversial speakers Everyone has behaved well, and I think it's absolutely unnecessary.
Behind
Did
you.
you wanna see behind you? It's behind you. Sorry.
I think, I don't know the details that Carl mentioned, but Michelle's upset is by somebody's behavior. And as I say, I know nothing about it, but that was what I thought she was expressing, that she wanted to have a break available for people who do, and as I've heard about this, political affairs are all very civilized and so on, and adult. The question is, sometimes there's not an adult reacting to something and being ugly, and Michelle, and then this person that characterized Woodland Pond on their Facebook page. That's what got her upset, that things were happening here that were creating an atmosphere that we and she are very anxious not to be even suggested by things that go on here. So she's between a rock and a hard place, and I'm not, as we all have said, the legality is the point, and we are not aware of all the legal issues with what, this has all been said before, but her concern is created by a reality, which I assume is what Carl is referring to. So she's just trying to put out a spark before it becomes a fire.
Thank you.
First off, there is some background that there was supposed to be a speaker, and without getting into anything, because I can't, when the idea was presented, Michelle called the person and said, "You're not welcome here." But aside from that, having an ad hoc committee says, maybe it is something we have to think about, so yeah, we're gonna investigate. I think it's a bad idea. If we are negative to the idea here, we're setting the precedent by saying the residents don't want it. We are the residents' council. We're supposed to speak for the residents, and so we are saying, no, if management wants to make a committee, management can make the committee, then the residents are the ones who go forth and say, but we don't want it. If they wanna make something that says, we can't have fundraisers, or we can have fun, that's one thing. But to stifle the voices, and like I said before, if you don't like it, don't come. And if you're gonna post something on social media, welcome to this world the way it is now. People do. And if it's not a resident posting, maybe it's an employee who left under bad terms. Maybe it's a grandchild of someone that just heard something. That's what social media is. You have to take a fine-tooth comb and decide what's real and what's not. We don't want it, and forming some investigative committee sets a bad precedent.
Okay, thank you. I think we've reached a point where I'm going to table, or not table, I'm going to end the discussion. We made a motion, the motion was approved 8-0. There will be, decision will be sent to management and ask for their response. I think that's all we can do.
Right.
Okay, because I think to form an ad hoc committee, I like that idea, but what are we forming it to do? What do we know? What's the new target? What is being requested of us? The management came and said, we would like you to form a committee. we attempted to do that. It didn't come out well, so let's see what they want us to do now. So we've looked at it, and the outpouring from the residents and this council and the new council is very appreciated, and that's what will be the basis of my discussions. Okay, so I think right now, for going forward until we get new directions, this subject is closed. And I would accept a motion to adjourn.
No,
Yeah.
second,
What?
motion,
Oh,
and I.
I see your hand up, I get scared.
I'm back.
It's 11. Oh, yes, do we want another year session? I think we kind of had that.
What about the Zoom people?
Zoom people, I only see Halima and Betsy. Betsy, you on Zoom?
Yes. First of all, I'm sorry for my outburst. I was not aware that my speaker was on. The holiday party for the residents, for the staff is December 19th. I have filled all the slots for servers. If there's somebody who was not contacted, who wants to participate, I would be happy to put you on a list for substitutes. There are always last minute changes, and so if you want to email me or telephone me, if you are not already on the list and you want to be, please do so. Thank you.
Very good, Betsy, thank you. This is a wonderful thing that we do.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, the motion was who, oh, Alice did, and
And I made a second.
second, okay. Don't hurt yourself. All in favor, aye. Okay, thank you, good session. See you in a couple weeks.
Now I'll be back with you in minutes.
Hey, that's-
You got it.